Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Debra. I am your host. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're a regular listener, thank you so much. And if you're first time listening, welcome to my podcast. It is a women's health, fitness, and weight loss podcast where I help and support you in achieving your goals with tips, advice, and cut through all the misinformation out there and help you make progress towards your goal and feel great. Now, if you are enjoying listening to my podcast or you're listening for the first time and you get to the end of this podcast and have enjoyed it, it would be so appreciated and would mean the absolute world to me if you would share my podcast with your friends so that I can reach and help more women. And if you're not already following the show, please do. And if you could leave me a review, it goes a very, very long way in enabling my podcast to reach more women, and that they can see the podcast, which will help them achieve their goals and feel better. So it would be much appreciated. It will only take a few seconds. And if you could do that, like I say, it would mean the absolute world to me, because I genuinely want to help and support as many women as I can. And this podcast enables me to do that. Now, in today's podcast, this is a podcast response to my group coaching clients where they check in every week. And the check-ins is where what I have been told by my clients is where the magic of coaching happens. And what a check-in is it gives my clients an opportunity to reflect on their week. There are various questions within the check-in form that prompts sort of answers and information that helps me get an understanding of where they are, how they're feeling, the progress that they're making, the wins that they're achieving, where the challenges are, and how I can support them. And the benefit of you listening to this podcast, even if you're not coaching, is that a lot of the common struggles may be things that you are currently struggling with, and you may get a nugget of information from this podcast episode that will help you in your own journey. It's also very reassuring to know that you're not alone, and what you might be experiencing, so might other people. If you've not been exposed to my coaching, you will learn from my podcast that I am a very compassionate coach. I'm very understanding. A lot of what my clients are going through, I have been through myself over the years. And I always coach without judgment. And this is really important when coaching, because building trust with my clients and a relationship where they know that they can trust me and that they can tell me anything because they know that my advice will always be without judgment and always compassion. Just to further explain what compassionate coaching means, it means that I coach with your best interests at heart. And all the advice I give you individually, even if you're on group coaching, I'm giving individual feedback, is always doing the best by you. Sometimes compassion can look like being, encouraging you to back off, be a bit kinder to yourself, take your foot off the accelerator, as it were. And sometimes compassionate coaching with your best interests at heart can mean that I sometimes deliver a little bit of tough love. I can be a bit firmer, but it's because what I assess from your check-in form and evaluate and recognize as an experienced coach what it is that you actually need. And sometimes you can't make that decision for yourself. And this is the benefit of having a coach. Now, cracking on with this week's check-in, we are at the end of week 2. Ladies are getting into a really nice rhythm and routine of coaching, understanding what it is that they need to be doing day to day. They have goals and targets, and I have gone through all the data, and I've also gone through their check-in forms. I'm going to just read out a couple of wins today. So I'm going to start with Jo. And her wins from this past week is she is planning better and she is getting back on track after being poorly. She is also cooking and making meals in advance, bulk cooking meals in advance. And these are great wins, Joe, because planning is key to you having a more successful week. And I have recorded a podcast episode on this, all about the importance of planning and scheduling your week. There is the expression, fail to plan, plan to fail, fail to plan to fail. And as harsh as that quote is, in a lot of respects, it kind of does resonate. If you don't plan your week and you don't know when you're going to be doing what it is that you say that you're going to be doing, it doesn't help you build that self accountability. When you know you've scheduled in time for a walk, time to do your exercise, time to prepare a meal, to bulk cook. If you don't schedule that into your diary, especially if you lead a busy life, which most of us do, if not all of us, in our own ways, we all have busy lives. If you don't plan and schedule the things that you want to do to support your goal and the way you want to feel, you're not showing that commitment to yourself. And I want you to build self accountability. So in coaching, yes, you have accountability to me, but I'm also wanting to encourage you to develop and build that accountability to yourself. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I encourage you to do, what I want you to do. I want you to build the self accountability to yourself, because going forwards for the rest of your life, this is what will enable you to continue maintaining the results that you get and building that self accountability. And planning is a great way to do that. Bulk cooking in advance is a really, really useful way to set your week up. Again, especially if you're busy. Now, it takes time to bulk cook, but it will ultimately save you a lot of time, because when you come in from a busy day and you realize dinner is, in the fridge, it's already been got to heat it, it's going to save you time. It's also going to save you a lot of decision making, and making decisions can often be the hurdle that makes weight loss really difficult, because there's just too much to think about, too many decisions to make, and it can sometimes get too overwhelming that we just can't make those decisions and grab something that's quick and easy, but perhaps doesn't support our goal. So bulk cooking is a really beneficial way to support your health and your weight loss goal. It's great that you're getting back on track after being poorly. Now, there's so many colds and flus and viruses going around. We're obviously reaching, winter, we're in autumn. So getting, after a period of being unwell, it's really important, as soon as you feel ready, to get back to your usual routine, hitting your goals, hitting your targets, getting that movement in, easing yourself back into exercise, making sure you feel well enough and working at the level that you feel ready to get back to, and building up slowly and gradually. Now, Jo has set her intentions for the week, and I want to just explain what intentions are. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, sometimes, I've talked about overwhelm and how sometimes there feels like so many decisions to make, so many things to do alongside your busy life. Maybe you've got a family, a partner, a house to run, a job to go to, or all of these things. And sometimes your goals can just feel so overwhelming, and all the tasks that you need to do to achieve your goal can feel so overwhelming, and you almost get paralysis by analysis, which means that there's just so many things to do and it all feels overwhelming, so you end up doing none. And if that is where you're at and you're listening to this is my advice: set some intentions. Your intentions are little promises to yourself. They are you saying, this is going to be the minimum that I'm going to commit to for myself. It might be to hit 6,000 steps a day, whatever that might be for you, dependent on where you currently are. If you're hitting 2,000 steps a day, start with 3,000. Know that you can absolutely achieve that minimum non-negotiable intention, because I don't want you to break the promise to yourself. So set yourself some achievable intentions that you know without doubt you can achieve. And within those intentions, you've got your minimum, and then you've got a range where it would be optimal. So if we use steps as an example, you may be aiming for 3,000 steps a day, but optimally you want to hit, 9 to 10,000 steps a day. As long as you hit your minimum and anywhere in that range up to your optimal, maybe you may even hit optimal, occasionally, that's great. It is better that you underpromise and overdeliver than the other way around. But set no more than 3 intentions. And if you are struggling with overwhelm, message me, just say overwhelm, and I will send you something to help. But Jo has set her intentions for the week, and a reminder, Jo, don't let yourself down. Those intentions are promises to yourself. Schedule them in to your diary and do what you say you're going to do. And you will feel a huge sense of self-achievement and accomplishment, helps you build trust in yourself that you will do what you say you'll do, and it will take you closer to your goal. Now, it's great. She says she's feeling more focused and back to where she needs to be to continue progressing towards her weight loss goal. Which is great. Now, I do want to expand on something as well that Jo has said in her check-in, where she describes in the period where she's been really unwell. She spent a good few weeks. She was on medication, antibiotics. She was really knocked sideways by feeling unwell. And it did lead to her falling into what she describes. I've often used this expression myself, falling into the fuck it bucket. We all know the fuck it bucket. We're all human, and we may have all found ourselves sometimes in that bucket. What I would say and advise to anybody that, sometimes or regularly falls into that sort of fuck it mentality is to really reflect on what the circumstances were that led to that, and really reflect on the behaviors, and with the benefit of hindsight, knowing what you know now and feeling the way that you do now, would you have done anything differently if you could rewind time? And if so, what would that have been? Because although, hopefully Jo won't be unwell again anytime soon, there are always going to be similar circumstances that may lead you to sort of resorting to that same behavior, that falling into fuck it mentality, that all or nothing mentality. What could you do differently if faced with similar circumstances? And bullet point them, make them steps. What would you do? Because when you write these things down, and they can be in your phone notes, write them down, because they will start to penetrate into your brain, and you will start to use them. It does take practice, but it will help set yourself up differently in those challenging situations where you revert back to previous behavior. And also think about, did falling into the bucket, did it make you feel any better? Did it solve the problem that or the emotion that you were feeling? Quite often it doesn't. It's a very quick, temporary fix, but long term, it ultimately doesn't make you feel better. So really think and reflect on this, and hopefully that would help anyone listening to this. Now, Ellie, she has been away with work this past week, and she said with her wins, it's very important to celebrate wins, because your wins are like the stepping stones of small achievements to making that long-term progress towards your goal. And recognizing these wins is recognizing those small stepping stones. And those stepping stones are really important, because each stepping stone individually may not feel like very much, but when you put all those stepping stones together, they create a really long path in getting you closer to where it is that you want to be. Now, Ellie has said that she's finding it hard to think of wins because they're not prominent enough in her mind. And she goes on to say, does that mean I've been doing things half-heartedly? Or is it because I've been away with work and my mind is frazzled? Now, it could be because you've been away with work, Ellie. It could be that your brain is frazzled as well. You've come back from being away, you're thrown straight back into family life, you have young children, there is lots going on in your life outside of what you're doing for yourself. You're a mum, you're a wife, you've got lots of responsibilities, plus a job, etc. Now, there are always wins to your week, and it doesn't matter how small they are. And I think that Ellie has got a little bit used to the wins that she is making and taking them for granted, because she goes on to say that while she was away with work, she feels she made really good choices with food while she was away. She skipped starters and desserts and only had one dessert. She only had one dessert while she was away. She was away for a week, and she only ate half of it because she didn't want any more and recognized she was at a comfortable level of fullness. Now, there, Ellie, is so many wins. And I'm glad that you've added them to your form, because these are huge wins. These aren't little stepping stone wins. These wins represent that what you've been doing in coaching is really starting to embed. They're becoming routine. And perhaps because they're becoming routine, you're taking them more for granted. But you've made smarter choices whilst being away. You've made compromises by skipping starters, skipping desserts. And the day that you did have a dessert, you recognized fullness, you're tuned in to your hunger hormones, you're recognizing when you're at mild fullness, you know you have a fat loss goal, and you're making those choices, you're showing the actions that you need to take in order to achieve their goal. Now, having looked on the coaching app at the data, your scale weight is consistently dropping. Now, yes, it fluctuated the week you were away with work, but that could be due to the change in types of food. You know, it could be travel. There could be a multitude of reasons why you've scale weight has fluctuated up. But it is already starting to come down again, which is really positive and shows that getting back to your usual routine, the usual way of eating, you don't need to do anything drastic. Your scale weight will come down again. You're doing a great job. Celebrate all those wins. They're the only wins I'm going to read out today. And what I want to touch on is food tracking, whether that tracking be a handwritten diary, whether that tracking be using food photos, whether that tracking being using an app, a tracking app like MyFitnessPal or Nutricheck. When years ago we could lose weight, we didn't have tracking apps, right? We didn't do those types of things. People still lost weight. However, tracking apps enable us to really get an understanding of where we are with calorie intake, understanding the nutritional values of certain foods, portion sizes, protein content. It's a really, really valuable tool, and we do have it at our disposal now. Now, tracking isn't for everyone, and not all my clients are tracking, but tracking or keeping a food diary or using food photos, what it does is it gives you pause for thought. It makes you think about the food that you're putting on your plate. And whatever tracking method you use, it serves a purpose for you to have that pause and to think about, am I loading my plate in the way that it's been explained and I know I need to build my plate, fill my plate. And again, I've done a whole podcast episode on this. So do go back and listen. But it's how to fill your plate, how to understand your portion sizes, what to have more of, what to perhaps cut, have a little bit less of. Nothing is off plan, all food is included, right? But getting those quantities right and using some form of tracking method gives you pause for thought. Using a handwritten diary, writing things down makes you think about the food choices. Now, ideally, you want to be tracking whatever it is before you eat, whether it's taking that photo, whether it's writing that diary, whether it's using tracking with an app. Track before you eat, because it gives you pause for thought, makes you question what you've got on your plate. Could you improve it further? Is it in line with your goal? Is it going to make you feel good? Are you remembering those basics? Are you hitting your protein target? Are you including protein in each of your meals? So for those of you, no matter your tracking method, please always track before you begin to eat. Use that time to think about what's on your plate. Now, typically breakfast is the most challenging meal that I find with clients and people I speak to, ladies I speak to hit protein. Typically, Kellogg's told us to eat cereal for breakfast, and we all eat cereal. Many of us are eating cereal for breakfast because that's what Kellogg's told us. But actually, eating cereal for breakfast may not be the most nutritious meal that you could have at breakfast. Those of my clients who do like a cereal breakfast, we need to recognize that there's very minimal protein in a cereal breakfast. And I will never tell anybody not to have something, but I look at the cereal breakfast, and some of my clients on the group coaching are having cereal breakfasts. And my question to you is what's your protein content? Yes, you've got milk, but there's not enough milk to give you the protein requirement that you need. Remember, you're aiming to hit a very bare minimum of 25 grams of protein in each of your meals. So you need to add something to that cereal breakfast. What I would recommend, whether it's on the side or whether it's on top, is you need to be having something like a high protein yogurt or perhaps a whey protein, and have it as a shake or mix it in with your milk, and then you will hit your protein target. Some of you are already having yogurt, but you're only having 100 grams, which only gives you around 10 grams of protein, and you need to be having 25 grams. So look at those of you who are specifically tracking using an app, you get that information. So please make sure you're hitting that 25 gram minimum. And as a reminder, let's talk about the importance of protein. Protein not only benefits your long-term health, reduces your risk of diabetes, cancers, various cancers, heart disease, and other long-term illnesses and diseases. Protein helps repair and build your muscle tissue. You need muscle for your long-term health. Your muscle breaks down every day. When you get to around, for women, 30 to 35, you are at risk of sarcopenia, which is where you lose your muscle. And we need to maintain that for health. Alongside health reasons, you need muscle if you want to look toned, because looking toned comes about from building muscle tissue. That is what gives you the toned look, alongside reducing your body fat so that you can see that muscle shape. When it comes to weight loss, protein is the most important macronutrient, which is your carbs, fats, and proteins. Protein is the most important macronutrient of all those to support your weight loss goal. Protein keeps you fuller for longer. So it makes sense when you're in a calorie deficit. You're eating less than your body requires. Why not eat the food that keeps you fuller for longer and reduces your feelings of hunger? That's really beneficial when you're trying to lose weight. You want to be including protein throughout the day in each of your meals, which is why it's important to eat 3 meals a day that is based around a protein source. That should be the first thing that you think of. What's my protein in my meal? Start with that and then build the rest of the meal around it. Remember the basics. Let's just go over the basics. Eating those 3 meals a day, including protein in each of your meals. Like I just said earlier, base your meal around the protein source first and then build the rest of the meal. Add veg or salad or fruit, depending which meal and your preferences, to every meal. Bump it up. Bump it up with plenty. Don't need to hold back on your veg, salad, or fruit. Including protein and eating regularly throughout the day, adding loads of veg, salad, or fruit will increase your fiber, which will also aid digestion and keep you fuller for longer. It will also reduce the likelihood of you snacking between meals. And let's face it, it's the snacking that often is those higher calorie snacks that takes you out of the deficit. So if we can reduce snacking, it will help keep you adherent to your calorie deficit. Remember, you want to increase your movement, making sure your steps, all my clients have individual step targets, and getting in those important exercise sessions and resistance sessions, because doing resistance training, strength training, whether it's from home or a gym, is going to be stimulating your muscles. And stimulating your muscles is what helps maintain at the very minimum and build your muscle tissue. It also supports your weight loss goal, and it makes you feel pretty damn good. Okay, another win here, which is really important. Oh no, actually, this is a challenge. And the challenge is saying no to drink when out, whether that be in a work environment or a social environment. I talk about alcohol with my clients quite a lot. and often get my clients to reflect on the amount and frequency of the alcohol they're drinking. It's not about removing it, it's not about cutting it out, but it is also thinking about the goal that you have and also acting in line with that goal and thinking about how much you're drinking and how it can impact your goal. In a social environment, we often feel peer pressure that we should be drinking. But I think in today's world, there are a lot more people that choose not to drink alcohol. And I think, if you don't want to do things, don't please other people by having a drink. Often people, just have one won't hurt, blah, blah, blah. If you don't want to drink, just say no, thank you. It doesn't matter about what people think. And often they encourage you to do it to make you feel better, to make them feel better about the choices they're making. Be firm in what you want. And if you do want to drink, make it an intentional choice. Make it one that you've thought about and you've also come up with an agreement with yourself. Goes back to planning. I'm going to have 2 drinks and then I'm going to stop. Even, pick the drink that you're going to have. If you want to reduce calories from drinking, stick to those clear spirits and slimline mixers or diet mixers. But be firm in knowing what it is that you want. Another challenge, and this brings us on to scale weight. And again, scale weight, it's one measure of progress. It's not the only measure of progress when it comes to weight loss. We know that scale weight fluctuates. You should be taking regular scale weights through the week, not weighing once a week, because what if you weigh once a week and that's the one day where your scale weight has fluctuated due to, just being a human being? There are many reasons why scale weight fluctuates. The reasons why aren't so important, but recognizing that fluctuations are normal. And becoming reliant on the scale weight and basing the way that you feel on the scale weight is not healthy. This is like a whole topic on its own, but one of my clients has not weighed regularly just due to it not being available to her. And she feels that it's given her less focus. And it's not that the number is giving her the focus. So she understands about fluctuations. She just feels that it's giving her less focus. And she feels that because she's not been able to take regular scale weights, it's made her not try as hard. And my response to this is putting the scales to one side, focus on how you feel, because this is the biggest driver in you doing the actions that you need to do in order to drive that scale weight down, regardless of, not being able to take the scale weight because you've been away and you didn't have scales whilst you're away. And I wouldn't want people to take their scales on holiday or away with them. It's not necessary, but focus on your actions, focusing on making the choices, the compromises, moving, doing what you can whilst you're away within the limitations that you have to help you feel good. That's your driver, not the number on the scale. The number on the scale is going to go up and down. Obviously, over time, we're looking for it to trend down. Your scale weight is trending down. Focus on your actions. Look at your habit-based targets. And this is for everyone. What are the things that you have in your habit-based targets? Clients on my coaching app, I set them habits every day so that we can really embed these habits, tick them off, get consistent with them. Remember, we're not aiming for perfection, but we are aiming for imperfect consistency. Okay, question. How do I fit in workouts when you have a busy life? You have to look at your day and what your day looks like. Now, what I tend to find from my experience coaching is we can get very closed mindsets into the time that we do things, and we're not open to doing things at different times. And I would encourage you to look at your day and be open to doing things at different times. Knowing when you have more energy, knowing how you feel at the end of the day and the likelihood of you doing a workout after a long, busy day. Would it be better to do it in the mornings? Get up a bit earlier, get it done and dusted. Remember, 20 minutes, just 20 minutes will benefit you. And if you can increase the frequency and do 20 minutes 3 times a week, it will have considerable benefits to your health, the way that you feel, your mental well-being. Moving your body makes you feel good. So you've already recognized, this client has recognized that she thinks getting up earlier is going to be more suitable. Try it. Try it. Just need to get out of bed and do that home workout. This is the great thing about home workouts. You can do it in your PJs. No one need know. Now, to wrap up this week's podcast, because I like to keep it not too long, if you are struggling with anything and you are in your, you don't have to be a client. If you are particularly struggling with anything, please know you can reach out. All my contact details are in the show notes. I have so many resources that I can send and help you with. And to my clients, well done at the end of another week. Use the chat group if you want to find out more from me or go into greater detail about anything that I have discussed on this week's podcast, response, or anything. Obviously, we have daily contact in the group chat. Please know that you can use that group chat as you need to, and to ask me any more advice. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.